You know that feeling? It's 3 a.m., the house is silent, and while your phone is plugged in and charging, you are running a 24-hour news cycle inside your own head. You aren't tired because you did too much today, you're tired because you thought too much. You're performing a forensic audit of a conversation from 6 hours ago. You're drafting 5 different ways to say no to a Saturday invitation. You're mapping out a what-if scenario that has a 2% chance of happening, but your brain is treating it like a Category 5 hurricane. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It's a profound structural weariness that usually hits the most intelligent and emotionally aware people in the room. In our culture, we call this overthinking and treat it like a bad habit. But in reality, it isn't a defect. It's a high-performance engine with a stuck throttle. It's a sophisticated survival mechanism that hasn't been told the war is over. To understand the overthinker, we have to look at the hardware. Most people have a resting state, where the brain shifts into low power. But for you, the off switch is broken. This comes down to a struggle between your prefrontal cortex, the CEO in charge of analysis, and your default mode network. In a normal brain, when the task is done, the CEO goes home. But in your brain, the CEO stays late to audit the background noise. It looks at random memories and what-ifs and says, wait, we need to solve that hypothetical problem. You are essentially running a 24-hour high-intensity stress test on yourself. This is why you feel physically drained even if you've spent the whole day sitting on a couch. Why would a brain do this? It's usually an adaptation. For many, this habit starts in childhood, in environments where outcomes felt unpredictable. If you grew up where moods shifted without warning, your young brain learned a logical survival strategy: anticipate everything. If you can predict every move the people around you might make, you stay safe. Overthinking isn't a flaw. It's a brilliant nervous system building a fortress out of thoughts to protect you from being blindsided. But here's the trap: the dopamine loop. Your brain releases small amounts of dopamine during problem solving. The catch is that your brain can't tell the difference between solving a real-world crisis and analyzing an imaginary one. When you run through a scenario for the 50th time, your brain gives you a tiny reward. It feels like progress. It feels like you're working on it, even when you're just digging a deeper hole. The irony is that this engine is also what makes you remarkably perceptive. Research shows that chronic overthinkers score significantly higher in cognitive empathy. Because you've spent so much time mapping out human behavior, you've become an expert at reading social nuance. You notice the slight pause in a friend's voice, or the unspoken tension in a room. You are running 8K high-definition emotional software on a hardware system designed for basic survival. It's a gift, but it's a heavy one. So, how do we fix a mind that refuses to idle? You can't think your way out of overthinking. You have to change your relationship to the thoughts. In psychology, we use cognitive diffusion. Imagine your thoughts are like a radio playing in the background. Usually, you're leaning in, letting the lyrics dictate your mood. Diffusion is the act of staying in the room, but realizing the radio is just background noise. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," you practice saying, "I am noticing the thought that I'm a failure." It creates a buffer zone, so the analytical mind doesn't run the whole show. If you're stuck in a loop right now, try grounding the hardware. Since overthinking happens in the cloud, you must force your brain back into the physical world. High-intensity movement, or the 5-4-3-2-1 sensory rule, forces your brain to switch from the background processing network back to reality. You cannot truly overthink and truly feel the texture of a physical object at the same time. Finally, give that voice in your head a name. Maybe it's the auditor or the security guard. When the loop starts, just say, "Oh, the auditor is doing his midnight review again." It's much harder for a thought to ruin your night when you recognize it as just another program running on an old operating system. To the person who thinks too much, your mind is not broken. It is a highly sensitive instrument forged in necessity. You are observant because you care, and you are exhausted because you've been trying to solve an unsolvable world. The challenge isn't to stop the thinking. It's to teach that mind that it is finally safe enough to rest. You don't need to solve the future to survive the present. Sometimes, the most genius thing you can do is absolutely nothing at all.